right, you guys, we're back at the Bridge the Gap podcast where we talk about how to bridge the gap between the solar and roofing industry. My name is Ty, your host with Solar Detach and Reset, and I'm so excited about the guest that we are bringing on today because this is the first product guy. He's been in the roofing industry a very long time. He knows his technical stuff when it comes to roofing. And so I'm so excited to deep dive into that. He's also a member of ARCA. He also trains other roofers at ARCA. And so there's a lot to learn today, and I've got a lot of good questions ready to deep dive into some content. Mr. Mike Wadding, how are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing just fine, Ty.
Awesome.
Awesome. And I
Awesome.
appreciate you inviting me because it's important that these industries learn from one another because ultimately the consumer, whether it be a homeowner or be commercial, gets an education to help them make good buying decisions.
Absolutely. And I think it starts with us just starting to talk and having these conversations. So if there was going to be a first step to doing everything that you just said about it, it's right here. And we've had these conversations multiple times off camera, offline, but now we get to take this conversation and start sharing it with the industries as a whole and bringing some awareness to the situations. So I'm excited to get into it. But before we do, could you give me a little bit of your background history, in the roofing industry? Where did you get started? How did you kind of start getting toward the roadmap that you are on today?
Okay. Well, I'm third generation
Okay.
within the roofing industry. My grandfather owned a couple of roofing businesses, one in Pennsylvania and one in Colorado Springs.
Okay.
You know, the Pennsylvania business was basically focused around residential. And when he came west, brought the family west, my dad, his sisters, they settled in Colorado Springs, and they started working more in commercial roofing there.
Okay.
Now, like my dad, when he got there, he joined the local union. So the roofing business, Cosmos Roofing, was a signatory to the union. So my dad got into that end, and I also was a union member for a number of years, you know. But basically, like I said, third generation, as is, well, of course, I have a younger brother.
Okay.
His name is Steve Wadding.
Okay.
He works for Polyglass, and he does industry relations for that business. And and I taught him how to roof.
Yeah. Well, your older brother, it's trickling down, and so.
But for me,
Yeah.
I'd worked a number of menial jobs, when I was in between. Well, I started working when I was 15, and got up into when I was 20 years old, I joined the local 135 Roofers Union here.
Okay.
I'd done a number of different jobs trying to figure out where I wanted to be, and then I finally decided that what was best for me and my family was to go into a trade because there was a good living could be made within that trade. So many children nowadays are not sure what they want to do,
Yes.
and some of them have been deluded into thinking that, you got to go to college, okay? Not a trade school, not go learn a trade. And really, a trade can make you a good, honest living.
Absolutely.
I don't care what it is. I don't care if it's roofing. I don't care if it's laying block.
Yeah.
Okay? If you're willing to apply yourself. So I made the decision to join the roofing industry. I was inducted into the union in 1977, and I was in their apprenticeship program, which was run through Rio Salado College for the accreditation of it. And although not to toot my own horn, I was the outstanding apprentice in my second year.
There we go. Yeah.
But, so many of the people, I looked at the photograph for my graduating class the other day, and, I saw the people that I came through that with and saw some of the old timers who were on the Joint Apprenticeship Committee, and unfortunately, I lost a few of those people.
Yeah. Sure.
I mean, we're all going to die.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully, we don't do it too soon.
Yeah. And hopefully with no regrets when we do.
Yeah, and with no regrets. But I've always had this attitude about giving to my community, to my industry.
Yeah.
And so, and that was the example that was set for me by my father. He was a president of a number of associations, including the Arizona Roofing Contractors Association, which he was twice president of that organization. He cared about the industry. Well, of course, I still have my father to this day.
Okay.
He's moving a little slower, but that's okay.
That's awesome, yeah.
But the example that he set for me was you're only going to get out of it what you put into it. Okay? So through the associations that he was a part of, he took and was constantly working on education, okay? And he was part of the apprenticeship committee, okay?
Yeah.
And he cared about teaching people. He cared about the industry and wanting them to get better so they could work hard but work safe.
Yes.
And be able to take care of their families, like my dad always did. Myself personally, like I said, I was inducted to the union with the attitude that, like I said, you're only going to get out of it what you put into it. So as I rose through the ranks, I mean, I was an apprentice. I graduated my apprenticeship. I became a journeyman roofer. I became a foreman. I worked as a superintendent and as a general superintendent for a couple of different businesses where I was running all of the production going on within that business. The only thing I've never done is I've never owned a business. But I had decided, as I rose to these ranks and saw this and, trying to teach people to work smarter, not harder, I also took and when it became time, when I crossed over into the manufacturing side of the business, I worked for three different manufacturers. One got absorbed into another larger, international business. The other one was bought up by a large manufacturing facility, and the company that I work for, which is General Coatings Manufacturing. It's a part of American Polymers Corporation, and there are 13 sister companies, and they don't just focus necessarily on roofing. There's a division that focuses on waterproofing. Okay, that's our Polycoat line. I work at DCMC, which is focused on foam roofing and the related coatings.
Okay.
But we have divisions, for instance, that are working in nanotechnology, coating nanotechnology. If you want to coat a bridge, okay,
Wow.
We have products throughout these segments, epoxy flooring, all these, I love the company I work for.
Yeah.
They're great people, and it's like a family.
Yeah, I love
Okay. Unfortunately, our founder passed away last November, but his children, who are all doctors, okay, when I say doctor, I'm talking about doctors, chemistry, PhD,
I'm with you. Okay.
right. And they are committed to continue Lax's legacy and to
Love that.
continue this business. They have no interest in selling to a larger corporation.
Yeah.
But I digressed.
Yeah.
I apologize.
No, it's okay.
Anyway, so as I rose to the ranks and, I learned, then I started teaching other men the trade, and then I started guiding and directing people. And now in the manufacturing side of the business, it's about presenting the value proposition to those contractors to get them the best price, but for a quality product.
Yes.
Not necessarily the lowest price in the market, but the best
Right.
value for that.
Yes. Yeah.
And my job is to help educate them and I always pick up the phone.
Yeah.
I will always take an answer, a question, and if I don't know the answer, I go find the answer and get right back to them
Yes,
because
you do. Yeah.
they didn't call me
Yeah.
to chat and talk about the time of day. They had questions and they needed answers, and it's my job to find those for them.
You're a solution finder.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's what it's about. If I can't find you a solution, I'm not doing my job.
Yeah. I love it. There's so much, so many questions I have out of that, but I think, what I'm hearing overlying to zoom way out on everything you just said, a couple different things is one, you had a foundation and a legacy left to you from your dad that you are now taking on and really taking some of the key foundational things that he laid in your life, like educating other people, valuing relationships, and when we talk about life and getting to the end of it, I really think that's how we get to be in a place of no regrets. Because if we are just consuming and selfishly consuming and not taking care of other people and trying to really leave something behind almost when we go, that's how we get there. And I think you've done a great job at educating not the roofing industry, but also here we are talking about hiring and training all these men over the years as a superintendent, and talking about, hey, the trades are an option for so if you're a young professional, if you're a young man or woman that is still undecided what you want to do with your life, college doesn't always have to be the answer. It might feel like that's what everyone's doing, but we're starting to see the back end of that where we have a lot of these kids coming out with a lot of college debt and still not knowing what they want to do with it, maybe not even using that degree that they paid for.
Yes, and that's an important thing.
Mm-hmm.
To be saddled with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt before you're even making a living is just ludicrous.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you're going to become a doctor, okay? And when I say a doctor, I'm talking like a physician, a specialist of some nature, or a rocket scientist, okay?
Yeah.
A lot of stuff is not really going and getting a bunch of college credits does not necessarily make you smarter,
Sure.
The person who has a political science degree and a social justice degree, their name, how do you call them? Hey, bartender.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sure.
Because they found no practical application for that.
Yeah, and so
Okay.
they spend a lot of money and a lot of time sometimes picking up. There is benefits to college. I don't want to say, but there's a lot of fluff that comes with that. Versus when we talk about a trade school, we're talking about very specific how to become a professional at something. It's very dialed in. And that's what you did and what you help teach now. And how when you talk about coming up through the ranks. Your learning and your education never stopped that whole time, but you're also taking that and passing it down to everyone else underneath you, correct?
Okay. I took some community college classes to learn better to the techniques of supervision, how to properly help those workmen.
Yeah.
I always had the attitude I wanted to train them to do my job so I could move up.
Oh, I love that mindset.
And it's not, guy's going to get my job if I teach him too much. No.
Mm-hmm.
If you're dedicated, if you are an individual who cares about what you do,
Mm-hmm.
you care about raising others
Yeah.
up,
Yeah.
because all that does is elevate you.
Yeah, and coming from a business owner vantage point, I know you said that's the one thing you haven't done, but you very well could have with all your background knowledge in it, and you're in line with, when you start a business and you're doing everything, and the name of the game is to bring people up underneath you, so you start taking things off your plate, right? A little bit at a time, little bit at a time,
Right.
and growing people and growing people and growing people until you have a team
Well,
of well-educated individuals.
I was really impressed when you came on the scene, per se.
Sure.
Okay, that there was a gap.
Uh-huh.
Okay, between the roofing industry and the solar industry. In the solar industry, there's, they were they don't like one another, I guess.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Now, I'm no solar expert. I will admit that, but over the years in learning more about solar, taking and becoming, looking for the right resources. Sometimes finding the right resource, the right specialist to help you do your job better. And that's where a business like yours bridges that gap.
Yeah.
It really does, because you can educate both of them.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
As part of it. Now, I don't know what we have in the at our association, the Arizona Roofing Contractors Association, which has been in for 54 years.
Oh, that's awesome.
My dad was one of the founding members
Wow.
of that.
Wow.
Well, they merged two associations, the Central Arizona Contractors Association and another one from down in Tucson, to form the Arizona Roofing Contractors Association.
Okay.
And the association has a lot of good information, whether you be a consumer or whether you be a contractor.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the biggest focus that has been going on has been education. Education for the people in the industry. Of course, we have some of the things that we do within the organization has a philanthropic bend to it, because we have fundraisers through the years for certain things. For instance, homeless kids. There's a program called Youth on Our Own here in Phoenix, and there's another one down in Tucson that we help support through fundraising. But we also, through the Arizona Roofing Contractors Association, for children of people in the industry. Doesn't matter where they work for a manufacturer, doesn't matter if they own a business, or anything that's related to roofing. We award between $10 and $15, $2,500 scholarships for higher education, whether that be college or even a trade school.
Yes.
We select those individuals from the family who have applied, and like I said, anywhere from 10 to 15 a year.
So if you're looking for an avenue to give back to your community, ARCA is a great resource for that. And I'm thinking they have so many things that you mentioned and more. I'm thinking about Minnie recently just did a trade school for girls, and she's collecting donations to provide tools to women in the industry who want to learn about trades, and they're doing a 1 week or a 3 day, I believe, event where they're learning how to do roofing, how to install an outlet with lights, how to plumb some things, and they're coming out of that getting a little taste of it, and it's really great for the community to make sure that doesn't get lost, I think, and let them know it's still an option.
Minnie is near and dear to my heart.
We got to have her on the podcast. She's amazing.
Yeah, you know, I mean, she's part of the National Women in Roofing.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, she's worked for a couple of manufacturers, but Minnie and I have served for years on the Expo committee.
Yes.
The Arizona Roofing Contractors Association convention and expo.
Which is coming up, by the way.
Yes, it's coming up. It is it starts on the 25th
Uh-huh.
of September, and it's in Flagstaff, and we'll
Yeah.
be at at Little America there.
Come cool down. If you're a roofing contractor, come cool down for a couple days, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. There's going to be, networking opportunities. There's going to be a time for you to relax a little bit, maybe with your team. They're going to have some golf, some sporting clays, some cornhole. But that's not all. They're also going to be doing some educational classes, aren't they, at the event?
Yes,
and
at the event. There will be education classes that are geared toward people in the field and also for business owners or upper management.
Yeah. So not just about trades, but
right.
Yeah.
And that's what the bylaws of the Arizona Roofing Contractors, it mandates that we provide this. But education is something that we are constantly doing. We formed the academy classes. It was a vision of myself and some other board members at the time that these guys weren't getting, it was just all they were out there doing is play monkey see, monkey do.
Yes.
Without any real background information. So we started doing the academy classes. And, one particular person Jerry Brown with RECorp, Western Roof Evaluation Corporation, started diving in and writing a lot of this. Jerry has a background in roofing. He was part owner of a roofing company, he and his brother, and but he decided to become a consultant to help people design roofs proper so they last longer. To get full value out of that. But Jerry just didn't do it on his own knowledge. He consulted others within the industry. Well,
like yourself, I'm sure.
Like myself. Well, like right now, this very minute, my little brother, Steve, I told you about earlier, is down there teaching an academy class at ARCA.
It's Friday.
On atactic polypropylene roofing.
And this is one of, there's so many great things about ARCA, but this is one of my favorite things, is the educational courses. And we have you to thank, a big part of it, for helping implement some of the stuff, because you're often teaching down there yourself.
And these are provided for free to the members of ARCA.
Yeah.
They can send their people, and it costs them $5 a piece.
Yeah.
That's to help cover lunch.
Yeah.
Rest of it, the rest of the expenses are borne by the association. Now, the association, their funds come from membership, which is the lower end of it, but from sponsorships from manufacturers like myself and others, and even some of the roofing contractors themselves are in there sponsoring. So that's where we generate the money to, number one, operate it, number one, to help fund these classes. And so that's why it has become a passion of mine, because it's an avenue for me to impart information. Last month, this month.
A couple weeks ago,
I have to think about that. But I taught the roof coating class.
Yes.
And then the following week, I taught the foam and equipment class.
So you've got roofers from all different companies showing up. They're sending their production guys, their estimators, their whoever it is within that company. Once you pay your dues, you're in.
The installers themselves, I've seen many of them, which is important because they don't necessarily fully understand what it is they're doing.
Right.
When I say doing, they don't have the background knowledge to understand maybe the chemistry. Or the other related facets.
The why behind it.
Yes, the why behind it. That's exactly it, Tyler.
And Connor and Andrew, some of our project coordinators, were in one of your classes recently, and when I'm getting feedback from them asking how it goes, they said Mike would ask a question after laying something out in the proper way to do it, and he would say, how many people not doing it this way. And almost every hand would sometimes go up. And it's so we're talking about the industry as a whole. They're doing things, it's getting by. But when we talk about the finite details of what is the why behind why we need to do it per the manufacturer specifications, per the roofing code, per the TRI, whatever you're teaching on, and now they start going back to work and talking to their colleagues about it, and they start making minor changes in the industry. And really, that's what's starting to set apart these companies who are investing in training with their companies from their competition. Correct?
And that's how they stand. That's how they stand out. And the funny part about it is the association, the fee, the yearly fee for a contractor
minimal.
is minimal.
Yeah. Do you know what it is?
$475.
Not even $500.
Not even $500 a year.
To a roofing owner.
And many other associations, which they're not bad associations, National Roofing Contractors Association, Western States Roofing Contractors Association, which is convention is coming up. Western States is coming up just before the ARCA convention that we just spoke about.
That'll be at the Paris in Vegas. If anyone's interested for that.
Vegas.
Yep.
But they charge based on volume, your gross volume. So a small roofing contractor may be paying a couple of thousand, and some larger ones are paying $5,000, $6,000, $7,000.
So we're talking about a screaming deal here with ARCA.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
You know, and like I said, the education is available, and of course to the average consumer, the website is azroofing.org. Okay, it gives you the opportunity to look up and see who the member contractors are.
And that's how we met, I believe. Is that correct? Yeah.
That's exactly it. Another important thing for the consumer, okay, not just them being an association partner, okay, but for them being able to research. Now, the web is a wonderful place, but a lot of it is kind of biased. The Arizona roofing, I apologize.
You okay?
The Registrar of Contractors, okay, the Arizona Registrar of Contractors has published the minimum workmanship standards in many areas. We're not just talking about roofing; we're talking about everything, pools, anything.
This is where a homeowner would go if they felt like a contractor didn't do if they did subpar work, and it holds them accountable. Correct.
But if they go to azroc.gov, go to the registrar, you can look up any license number.
Yep.
And it will give you their experience. It'll tell you how long they've been a contractor, how long they've, and if there are any complaints, whether those are still open or they're closed.
Resolved.
Okay?
Sure.
Not everybody that gets ticked, when I say ticked, I'm sorry about a complaint.
Maybe a complaint
may
on
not
that.
really be. It may not really be a real complaint. It's just somebody who's disgruntled.
I mean, let's look at Google reviews nowadays, and how sometimes we really got to take those for what it's worth,
get really biased.
Right.
Well, like I said, the important part of our association is education. It's nothing but education. It's education. It's education. Sure, we get together at Expo and a lot of camaraderie, and because no one roofer can do every roof in this valley, so but you want to be aligned with or be able to refer somebody to a good quality contractor that can meet that customer's need, because there are some people who focus strictly on residential. There are some people who strictly on commercial, and then you've got those in the middle who kind of do both.
Yeah, and I think that, I was going to ask you a question to, because oftentimes I'm working with over 100 different roofers. I often bring up ARCA, and are you a member or aren't you? And when they aren't, I ask them why, a lot of times the feedback is, why would I pay an annual fee to go hang out with my competition and go golfing and go do these things where it's these networking events? And they start missing the big picture of everything that you've just been talking about, the charity, the training.
They're lost in their own little world then, because if they don't take advantage of the education that is available to them I mean, aside from the academy classes,
Yeah.
OSHA classes,
OSHA.
10
yeah,
hour
Yeah.
and 30 hour. We offer those too. I mean,
No
like I
cost,
said,
right? Yeah.
and it doesn't cost me anything except $5 for lunch
So you can go get your
per
OSHA
person.
10, which that's a $600 course. If you go online, I think right now and look and try to put someone through an online course, not even in person.
Right.
And so it's going to pay for itself if that's your concern is the money.
Well, yeah.
But what we're also doing here is we're shedding a light onto ARCA and all the roofers who are members a part of it and saying, okay, to the homeowner now, the person who is paying. Now, when you are looking for a roofing contractor, you know that you're getting someone with values when it comes to safety, when it comes to quality and training, when it comes to really caring about the homeowner instead of just Googling online and not really knowing whoever's kind of popping up first on that Google page is just throwing the most money at it, but really what does the back end of their systems and training and processes look like? And when you go to ARCA, it's kind of pre-vetted for you, correct? And so there's value to the customer and there's value to the roofer. And for $400 and under $500, I mean,
$500. Whether you're a manufacturer or whether you're a roofing contractor, the fee's the same.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, manufacturers, of course, we have the opportunity to help. We donate because we want to further the cause, and we want those individuals who are in ARCA to know who the members are, because those are the people that they really should be doing business with.
Sure.
Not just Joe Schmo Roofing over here.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And I've seen a lot of companies, have grown through their association with the Arizona Roofing Contractors Association. Tyler, like I said, solar is kind of there's still kind of it's mystery kind of it.
It's kind of new on the market. Yeah.
The solar industry needs to, what I feel they need to do, they need to look at their designs a little bit better, particularly mounting systems, which is the key, okay? So long-term flashing solutions by the roofer, so it can endure the lifespan of that solar system.
Right. In an ideal situation, the lifespan of the roof and the solar are meeting one another to provide a long-term quality product for the consumer, correct? And it starts, I think, the big problem in the industry here, and I've spoken about this on other podcasts, is one, the solar guys that are coming in and installing these mounts are all about speed oftentimes, getting in and getting out and sealing the mounts quickly and good enough to where it gets them by out of their workmanship warranty period. But we also have the city inspectors that I think need to do a better job at holding these companies accountable and taking a look at some of these sealing processes.
I agree. You and I are both familiar with one particular instance.
Yeah. Sure.
A very good friend, a very good friend of mine.
Yeah. Let's talk
he
about that.
He had solar put on his roof.
Yep.
They gave him a plan, and then the city saw it and said, "Okie dokie."
Yeah.
Okay, wait a minute. Now his air conditioner is broken.
Middle of the summer.
And they had butted all the solar panels right up next to it, so you couldn't service.
No working unit. Clearance. Yeah. No 3-foot working clearance.
What they're supposed to have.
Correct.
And the solar company, their answer was, "Oh, well, the city stamped the plan, so it's not our responsibility."
And this is a homeowner with no AC making a call, trying just to get his air back on and find solutions midday, calling the solar company, and the solar company's not trying to help, not trying to solve it, just kind of washing their hands clean of it because they don't want to pay for a truck roll or try and help this guy who has no AC right now.
And ultimately, it was their fault in the first place.
Yeah.
So he gets to spend $900 next week.
Yeah.
For them to remove the few panels necessary and relocate them.
Good.
Relocate them so his air conditioning unit is serviceable in the future.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so when that does need to be replaced, it can be replaced without disturbing the system.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm glad that they're going back and doing that. It's unfortunate they're charging for it. But, when I got that call from you, it
Mm-hmm.
was, hey, Ty, this solar company isn't helping my friend out at all. And the AC guy is saying they can't service it. We're kind of at between a rock and a hard place here on getting the AC working again. And he's about to probably go think about getting a hotel room or something because or some other solution, to make it happen. And so we went and shot out there same day just to start trying to, do anything that we can to help and maybe clear out some panels and get this AC unit technician some access just to get the air back on. Which in my opinion, in the middle of summer is an emergency call.
Well,
when
it
it's
is,
so hot here.
They have pets within the house, and those pets reside there while they're out working.
Mm-hmm.
And, it could get pretty warm inside the average Arizona house within just a few hours without a working air conditioner
Sure.
during the summertime.
And the solar's been up there for years, and it just doesn't become a problem until it does, and it comes up quick.
But like I said, how you bridge the gap between us, between the industries, is more education. Now, I don't know if there's a solar association. There may very well be,
Yeah.
but are they making the same kind of strides that ARCA is making in educating people?
To that answer that I don't think there's a local Arizona-based one, but there is something called the Nationally Accredited Board of Certified Energy Practitioners, which we are a member of. It's called NABCEP, and it's a solar certification. There's continuing education credit hours that are required annually that you have to go and continue to take to remain a member. They have a conference once a year, but it bounces around from state to state most times. So it's a bigger gathering and not as a little more few and far between than what ARCA does with their trainings, right? Instead of once every Friday, we're talking about maybe once a year going to do these courses. But they do have something in place.
The Arizona Roofing Contractors Association has been around for 54 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I think that's really the difference between our industries is we're the new guys on the block here.
Well, when I saw solar starting to occur.
How long ago was that?
Oh, that was way back in the 90s.
Okay.
And initially, it was not so much photovoltaic for
Electric. Yeah, it was
solar water heating.
Yeah.
Okay.
So they start throwing things up on your roof.
Right.
Yeah.
And then later on, towards the end of the 90s, then the solar electricity generation started to slowly advance.
Do you remember your first opinions back then when you started kind of seeing this thing? I mean, was the gap there initially, or
my biggest problem with solar is the mounting systems. It's the mounting systems. It really is.
So from the get-go, there's been issues with mounting systems because these aren't roofers doing the mounting; they're electricians and they're plumbers doing the mounting.
That's correct. And although there are a number of racking systems that are ballasted, which means they put paving stones to hold them down instead of mechanically screwing through a roof or attaching that way.
No penetrations.
No penetration, except for where the lines have to go in to the building itself.
There's still some that needs to be flashed.
Yeah, there's still some, but not near the. It's not like you're putting a screw. A screw every 4 feet one direction, 3 feet in the other direction.
Thousands of holes on some of these commercial projects.
Right.
Yeah.
And roofs leak at what? The penetrations. Not the field of the roof, it's penetrations.
Yeah.
So that's why it's important that roofs are inspected and serviced regularly.
Yeah, absolutely.
And most of the time, that will stop the worst problem related to roof leakage and underlying damage that can occur.
How often should a roof be inspected?
It actually, for the average homeowner, it should be looked at once a year. At a minimum.
Is there a good time to do it?
But if there are episodes Okay, I'm talking about acts of God. Really bad episodes.
You had solar installed.
Oh, you got solar installed. Yeah, you need to look at it. We tell most commercial people twice a year.
Yeah.
And basically, the basic changes of sequence
Yeah.
of season. I'm sorry. To make sure that so the drains are clear, that there's no debris on the roof. Because some buildings, they plant all these lovely trees next to it, and then the drain is buried in 6 inches of leaves obstructing the drains, not allowing that water that does collect or to shed off and drain away.
Yeah. I think it's so important, these inspections, because these customers that are doing these active inspections, they're the proactive customer, right? And I just had a meeting with Classic Roofing yesterday and their team, and something great that I think that they were bringing to the table with their roofing customers is when they would go do the inspections, they're projecting about how much lifespan is on these roofs, so that these companies, these corporations, they do all commercial, right? So they are now working with the executives at the company to start budgeting years in advance for this very large expense that's coming, because the ulterior to that is a reactive situation where, oh no, the roof is leaking. Now I'm looking at my ceiling, I'm seeing damage. Let's go ahead and get an inspector out here. Maybe it's the first time in 5-10 years, and the roof is shot. And now they're going to say, "What? I don't know what the average cost of a commercial building would be for a roof." Mike, is there any insight on that? I know it's not cheap.
Well, on the low end,
Yeah,
$4 a foot. On the high end, Katie bar the door.
yeah.
It depends on what it is, okay? And the buildings codes have changed. So if you're putting one roof on another, you don't have to do as much. But depending on the type of the building and who owns it and their process, they may have to bring, if the roof is removed, they may have to bring it up to current code standards.
It's not the same game anymore.
It's not the same game anymore.
Yeah.
It is not, and it can get quite expensive because right now, the International Energy Conservation Code 2018 now recommends that the roof insulation envelope, there be a continuous envelope of at least R25 above the roof deck.
Wow.
Okay? That's a substantial change.
Yeah, which means a little more cost involved now in this.
Yeah, it costs a lot more. That's
Yeah.
why I'm saying on the low end, a cheap recover be about $4, but you're really looking at an average of more like $7 to $8.
And now we put solar on the roof. I want to talk a little bit about a community center that you and I walked together. One of our first projects we did a bid on, and we met on site. There was over 1,000 panels on this roof, right? And so we're talking about the code changes, the updates, the
and
repairs.
that doesn't even count the ones that they're out in the parking lot because all the covered parking.
Sure, there was a lot on.
There was a lot of solar.
Very big system, and they had, I believe it was it a rolled roof out there that we were thinking about doing some coating on?
There's an existing insulated modified bitumen roof on it.
Okay. Yep.
Okay, which is not really leaking to speak of. They've got a few minor leaks. But it's time to proactively do something.
Correct.
To preserve that, because an older roof, if it is properly evaluated, if it's not been left to rot, a restoration system can add literally double the life of a roof.
So at this point, they're on the edge of costs are going to start getting more expensive because damage is dripping in, it's trickling in, and it's minor now. But the longer one would wait in a situation like that, whether it's commercial or residential, we start having to replace plywood, decking, and the decking on that one is not cheap.
No, that
was very custom.
That particular job that we looked at is got dimensional lumber tongue and groove.
Yes, very
which
custom.
Is a couple inches thick.
Beautiful, but
yeah, it's beautiful to look at, but you start trying to tear that apart, it costs, I'm talking about thousands of dollars just to replace
a small section.
Because you got to kind of literally deconstruct it and then reconstruct it.
Yeah, and deconstructing tongue and groove can't be the easiest thing to do, I'm sure.
No, it's not.
And so we've got solar on the roof now, and now so it's you and I getting out there. We're meeting the facilities manager, and we're walking this roof, and we're answering all his questions at the same time about roofing, about solar. We're coming up with a plan. How can we keep costs down? Maybe we can shift panels around on the roof to clear this and do it in phases. But it starts with you and I getting on the same page and the customer involved so that we can start figuring this thing out, right? And if there's a gap here and there's a disconnect here, that's going to be a lot of pain point and frustration for that customer and potentially cost them more in the long run as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's so having a proper game plan before you get into it, analyzing what the costs are going to be. But knowing full well, putting it off just makes it that much more expensive.
Mm-hmm.
It really does.
Yeah.
So address the problems now, okay, while it is quite manageable.
Yeah.
That's
Absolutely.
the most important part,
Yeah.
That facility, it serves the community quite well.
Yeah.
And, it's just really important that we're able to, both of us, the roofing industry and the solar, that solution.
Yeah. To collaborate.
You and I have found the solution.
Yeah.
But the problem is there's another solar company involved, and a solution that they don't want right now. They're reluctant to be a part of the solution because taking down sections of the solar reduces the amount of money they're making because they get 20%. They get 20% of what's generated.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
A check to them.
Mm-hmm.
When I walked on that job, the job and talked to them,
yeah,
it was the facility did not have the plans.
correct. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
None of the as-built plans for that solar system, and I harped on that solar company for over a month, and finally they forwarded them to me via email. I in turn, regardless if I'm doing the job or not, I sent that to the owner.
Sure.
So they
You're
have
adding
information.
value.
They can archive it, so if later they're needed, they have them.
Yeah, at least you put in the legwork to make that. I think you even had to go knock on some doors to make that happen,
I did.
right?
I did,
but
I made it happen.
So, like going back to you're going to get the solutions and the information, and like when we started this conversation, and so we have now you're feeling the gap, right? Here we are.
Exactly
Here's the gap again between the solar and the roofing industry, and what does it look like, Mike, when we forecast out now to the future, to maybe our children starting to do this, 10, 20 years. And the amount of solar, as we know, that's being installed every day is in the hundreds, it's thousands of panels, right, are getting installed residentially and commercially daily. And so what does it look like 10 years down the road to start shrinking this gap up? I know we've talked about it a little between how we've worked together, but is there anything else you want to say on how can we continue to collaborate, or what do you need out of solar companies or the solar industry as a whole? What would be some good first steps for them to start shrinking this gap up?
Yeah, like I said, those who are in the solar industry really need to be looking to and working with roofing partners that have an understanding of their industry. But education is what it's all about.
Yeah.
It's always going to be, the foundation is always going to be education.
So it's caring, as a solar contractor, it's caring enough to listen and to invest time, money, energy in the front end of education, and so so that because I think that gap is being created by not enough listening to one another,
Right.
and too much finger pointing potentially when an issue comes up.
I agree with that. That's what's making it difficult
Yeah,
for both parties plus the consumer.
yeah,
Okay?
yeah,
Nobody wants to be hit with a surprise.
sure.
Nobody wants surprises.
Sure.
They
Yeah.
want to know what they're up, what they're doing, what's going on, and what they can expect. Okay, that value proposition for that consumer is what makes the most. That
Yeah.
it works for him, he can afford it, and that it is done right.
Correct. And so I think from a consumer standpoint, if if they start to notice that gap and feel that gap, because a lot of times they don't even know it's happening, right? We in the industry
No.
are fully aware of it. But if, let's say then this project we were talking about here with the big commercial project, if they were shopping around and getting multiple bids, and they are then you're going to start seeing that gap and that disconnect in communication. How come we can't get a hold of one another? How come they're not talking or caring about the sealing process? How come we're not coming up with a plan on how to do this most effectively? And then you and I show up, and we've got a little bit of less gap between us because we're collaborating, we're listening to one another, we're showing up together, we're talking about the plan together. Are we going to win that bid? Most likely, even if it costs more sometimes. And just from past experience in the last 3 years, I'll tell you that the answer, in my opinion, is yes.
I think we're in the best position to serve that customer.
Correct.
All right.
Correct. Through
because
communication.
we know the most about it.
Yes. And so if you are a roofing contractor out there that is not working with someone who is listening to how the mount should be sealed, somebody who is taking a look at underlayments and understands underlayments and understands sealing process and seeks continuing education, not just in the solar field, but also in the roofing industry, start looking now for somebody like that, because I think 10 years down the road, when we start really dialing in the future, it's the contractors who are recognizing it today and starting the relationships today that are going to outlast their competition when it comes to detaching and resetting solar and working with this other industry in the future. Right?
I believe you're exactly right, Tyler.
Yeah.
Like I said, if education is the foundation, and then willingness to be willing to learn. Okay?
Yeah.
I learn new stuff every day. I'm 67 years old. 66 years old.
Yeah.
All right? And I never stopped learning.
and I hope you never do, and I hope I never do, because
Well,
there's always something. Code changes. When you think you know it all, there's something out
Something
there.
else.
The second you think that you've stopped learning, you become stagnant. And one of our core values at our company is don't be stagnant. And it's continuing to always fine tune, always perfect. There's always going to be a better way. Don't ever be 100%. Take pride in your work. But always ask yourself whether you did good work or maybe you had some slips. What could I have done better? And what can I go and learn and educate myself on more to take it to the next level, to continue to grow? And that's how we stay on the cutting edge of service, of technology, of training. It's always seeking a better way. And I could tell you've had that instilled in you since a very young age, from your father potentially, or in growing up in the roofing industry, and just everything that you've done. And you are a success story, in my opinion, to, again, any of those younger generation out there that is thinking about the trades and what can you do and what can you become with it. And it's seeking to learn and specialize and become an expert in something. To become an expert means to never stop learning and growing in that field and always continuing to train. But then also, don't just be a selfish expert. Once you get to the top, turn back around and look at those behind you and start sharing it back to them, because the future generations, if we really truly care about the industry and where this is going, it's about them. It's about the kids now, and making sure that they are understanding this, so that when we can't get on roofs anymore, and we're slowing down a little bit, we can look back and say, man, look at the direction that this thing is going and its positive trajectory because of the legacy we helped instill. And there's a lot of pride and it's something to be proud of for you. And so, Mike, where can our listeners find you at if they're looking for a general coating specialist or a roofing specialist, or how do they get a hold of you?
General Coatings Manufacturing, the website is generalcoatings with s.net. I can be reached, Mike at generalcoatings.net, and I'm always available via the telephone, 602-375-0433. And I'm happy to answer anybody's question. If I've got the knowledge, I want to impart that knowledge
Love it.
to other individuals.
Yes.
Okay? I want the consumer to make an educated decision, an educated buying decision. I want him to buy what he needs, not what somebody thinks they need.
Yes. Yeah. Definitely. If it save that number in your phone. This man is a resource, a very highly valuable resource. For me personally, especially, I can't thank you enough for being here today, but everything that you're teaching me, teaching my team, teaching the community, and we need more people like you out there for sure. So I hope that this episode, you guys, taught you a little bit about roofing, but also taught you really about what ARCA is about, the benefits to ARCA, and the benefits to just continuing education in the roofing industry, and the direction we need to go as a whole when it comes to starting to bridge the gap between the roofing and solar industry to make a better future for the consumer. I'm Ty, the solar guy, with Solar Detach and Reset. This is the Bridge the Gap podcast, where we continue to bridge the gap between the roofing and solar industry. You guys be great.